Peace and blessings, family. I'm your brother in the struggle for peace, truth, freedom, justice, and equality, Brother Minister Alifullah. And today, family, I just want to share with you that tomorrow is October the 7th. And October the 7th is the recorded date of birth of Messenger Elijah Muhammad, born Elijah Poole. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, during his lifetime, basically explained to different people under different circumstances at different times that he actually did not know his actual day of birth. However, as years went by, there were more and more technology developed and more archives retrieved. Ultimately, they found a census report from Sandersville, Georgia, that actually had the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's mother's actual handwriting on it. And from that document, people started using October the 7th, 1897. But as I stated earlier, the messenger's message in this age of messages that he himself did not know his actual date of birth. Now, a lot of people don't think that, those little nuances when it comes to birth records are relevant, but sometimes it happens. Now, I know several of my family and friends it happened. It happened with me personally. Now, my mother um, had me while she was in a taxi cab and she was taken to a place where students in the hospital delivered me from my mother, and they had to give her a spinal tap. So I personally just never had a birth certificate or a social security number until I became an adult. You see, well, after 59 years, I still don't have a birth certificate. They made what they call a record instead of a birth certificate. They call it a certificate of birth, meaning that they look at your father taxes, your mother school records, and say, okay, well, this is their child. He's a natural born U.S. citizen. This is his father. This is his mother. But as far as having a birth certificate, I never had one. So I understand when the messenger say things like that, because he was even under dire circumstances, because he was born down south back in 1897 when, many babies were born in the rural South, with midwives, the family and friends delivered the babies. They recorded it in their Bibles or what have you. Now, they didn't have a high tech technology that we have in this day and time, you know. And now that I think about it, just about a couple of hours ago, we just been back and forth from the hospital for the past 2 days, and we're blessed with a friend that has a new beloved little baby, Nora. Now so shout out to beloved Khadija. Now and the family and friends. We pray within and work without that we see y'all soon. You know, but people look at birth records and they just be like, oh, after 1 year they just bring out a birthday cake and be like, oh, happy birthday to you. They have all kind of tributes on people's dates of birth. And I get it. It's no uh organized or spiritual reason why people can't enjoy themselves with good intentions. Culture is the outgrowth of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Know what I mean? However, it should be understood that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad theologically did not believe in birth records, especially for our people. His thing was that the original nation of Islam or the original people or the original man did not have a birth record. He has no beginning nor ending. What does this mean? This means that when you look at the actual birthday or the date of birth, that individual actually did not start there. They was already alive in their mother. They was already alive in their father. They was already alive in the water that they drank. They was already alive in the vegetation that they ate. They was already alive in the earth that they came from, that essence, the same iron and water and salt and calcium and gold and silver that's in the earth is in you. The same atoms of carbon that comprise all life forms comprises the human being. So you was already alive. The challenge is for you to understand that it was a conscious act long ago for the mathematics, the cause and effect, the actions and the reactions to manifest yourself. In his 1972 Theology of Time, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that real Islam, true Islam, he teaches us that Islam is mathematics, and mathematics is Islam. And he teaches us that we have to build with a fraction before we can build to the whole. So you don't get to a whole number unless you come through that fraction. You see, you can have one, but you can have 1/10 of one, just 10% of that one. You see, so there's place value, and the law gave the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wisdom on that, and he gave us an analogy on that. He explained to us that if you put a 0 next to a 1, you have 1/10 of 1. But if you move the 0 on the other side of the 1 God or that 1, you now don't have 1/10, you now have 10. If you put another 0 next to that 0, you don't have 10, you now have 100. And if you put another place 0 next to that 0, you now have 1,000. On and on, infinity. So Islam is mathematics, and mathematics is Islam. We not only have a birth record or birth date, we also don't have a death date. And what do we mean by that? You cannot destroy the original people. You cannot destroy life. This universe teaches us that the law of vibration is such that everything in the universe is constantly changing, is constantly vibrating. If you take a so-called physically dead man or physically dead woman or physically dead thing, and you were to closely examine it, not just look at it on the surface level, but piece it apart, analyze it, study it. And you'll see that on a micro level, that there are cells in that corpse that is still going through changes. It's still vibrating. All the way down to the base atoms of that being, you'll see that those atoms are constantly moving. The fingernails are still growing. The hair cells are still growing. The energy can't be created nor destroyed. Energy doesn't have a birthday, and energy doesn't have a birth death or a death date. The messenger teaches us spiritually that he would be the winner, living or dead. The teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad gave birth to a nation. Many people thought that nation was born on this day, and this nation would die on that day and be resurrected and be born again on this day, and that it would die again on this. It's like, no, the nation of Islam has no birth record. It has no beginning nor ending. The nation of Islam was here long before me, you, Messenger Elijah Muhammad, Master Muhammad, the 24 scientists, the planet Earth, the sun, moon, or stars. The nation of Islam existed. That divine will, that infinite mind, that pure energy, that electromagnetic force, that causation, that singularity, that first cause, whatever nomenclature or scientific or religious terminology you want to use, you could call it Al-Khaliq, the creator, or what have you. That creative force pre-exists creation. So we can't say that Jesus or Allah or Yahweh or Jehovah or the King of Kings or the Lord of Lords or the Queen of Queens or Mother Nature or whatever name you want to use for it, that creative force could not have a birth record. So what we have to do is start calculating the birth of a thing at a certain point of that motion. So that vibration of the atoms, we could say, okay, we see the movement of this atom. We could calculate from that. You see, so we could be like, okay, well, our universe is we have a sun that's, we have a moon 66 trillion years old. 6 trillion years before that, we got the stars. Now, I mean, 72 trillion years old. 6 trillion years for that, we got an older thing called the sun. Al Shams up there. Now, I mean, it'd be like, okay, well, where did this sun come from? It came from the atoms of hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, well, let's go back to this atom of hydrogen. Okay, let's look at these protons and these electrons. Let's look at these photons, these quarks. It goes right back to what? Matter that is so tiny that we consider it antimatter. We consider it plasma. We consider the seen unseen. So the Holy Quran teaches us what? To believe in the seen and the unseen. We believe in the mind of the original man, but we also believe in that original man. There is nothing spooky. It's all mathematics. So as we wake up tomorrow, let us be mindful and grateful for the life-giving teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And no matter what hardship you may suffer in this life, always remember the messenger's message will guide you through this age of mess. Assalamu alaikum, assalamu Allah, shalom, hotep, peace family. The struggle continues.